Welcome to a bipolar, a schizophrenic, and a podcast, where each episode is recorded after midnight in a vacant and possibly condemned location. Now, here are your hosts, Gabe Howard and Michelle Hammer.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hammer. I have schizophrenia.
I'm Gabe Howard. I have bipolar disorder.
I'm Vincent M. and I have donuts.
Yay, I'm so excited.
Yes, me too, because I like donuts.
Vin, for those who don't know, is our producer. He is the producer of Bipolar, a Schizophrenic, and a podcast. And Vin was gracious enough to let us be on his podcast in exchange for him getting to be on ours. Now, Vin, this is a little bit interesting. You didn't believe us.
I didn't believe you.
You did not believe that we actually recorded after midnight in vacant locations.
And yet here I am in Chicago after midnight.
We are all attending a conference together. And when Vin said that
late, I have no idea.
Basically because it took us this long to find a place that would let us in.
I know. They could not schmooze. They kept taking it themselves. I said, I can get us in. I'm a lady. And they were like, no, we're two guys. We can do it. We can do it. And I was like, no, you need a woman's touch. I got us a place.
I really do dig donuts because they're wonderful. And so I appreciate you getting us into this donut place. I was kind of hoping that we could find a pizza joint because then we would be what, Gabe?
We would be two guys, a girl, and a pizza place, which is how our show got its name.
Right.
Michelle at this point always pretends that she's too young to have watched that show, but she is so lying.
I watched it, but you talk about it like it was the greatest show of all time.
Oh, no, it was terrible. It gave us Nathan Fillion, who went on to give us Firefly.
It wasn't terrible.
He was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well,
that's how he got onto Firefly.
Well, that's
you don't know
true.
anything.
That's true.
Good, Finn. You know what? I like you more.
What's a Buffy?
Oh, good. Really?
If you don't know that, I really can't talk to you anymore because Buffy the Vampire Slayer is the best show there ever was. I go to Buffy trivia and I win.
I'm going to ask you a Buffy trivia question, and if you get it right, I'll give you $1,000.
I'd go for that.
It gives me some anxiety, but I'm very confident. But I'm not really sure what you're going to say. Are you going to reference the movie or the TV show?
Yeah, I was going to reference the movie.
Yes.
Well, do it. Do it.
No, I don't do the movie.
I know she didn't do the movie.
No, I get it right, and I'm here to witness the $1,000 claim. So if you get it right,
I only talk about the TV show. I don't talk about the movie.
Not even. Joss Whedon did the movie too, right? So
yes, but that movie did not come out the way he wanted it to come out. He was not pleased with the final result. Therefore, I do not watch it.
It's kind of like Gabe's bowel movements. I understand, but.
What the hell?
I have nothing against Christy Swanson. She's a wonderful woman.
Oh, that was going to be my question. Who was the actress that played Buffy?
You think I don't know that it was Christy Swanson? Who do you think?
That's the only trivia.
I win. I can't even. Gabe, give me $1,000.
No, I didn't ask the question. You didn't take the bet.
That I am that dumb.
I mean, I can.
I am so offended right now.
You're offended because you're dumb? How do you think the rest of us feel?
You think I'm that dumb.
Oh, you're offended that I think you're dumb? I have made this abundantly clear in episode after episode after episode, and that's what we're going to talk about. We've established that we're in Chicago. We have an interloper who has weaseled into our podcasting scenario because he thinks that our show is cooler than his show, which I don't know why I'm slamming the other show that I host. That's really kind of stupid.
Yeah. Here's
where we are. One of the things that we wanted to talk about was how our families have reacted to our show. We're what, 8, 9 episodes deep now, if my math holds up. We've talked about a lot of stuff. My grandmother listens to the show. She's 82 years old. My mother listens to the show. She is of that age where she is old, but she doesn't want me to say her age.
Can I say hi to them?
Sure, if you want.
Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Susan.
Ass kisser. And Michelle's family also listens to the show. Michelle's mom has listened to every episode so far, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
And she has given you
every single episode.
And she gives you feedback.
Yes, she said I'm very mean to Gabe.
She
I'm not nice. But before that, when I was putting up those quotes on Facebook and Instagram of things that were going to be in the first episode, she said she was very nervous about this podcast and what we were going to be talking about because she didn't like these quotes I was putting up.
What kind of quotes are we talking about? What
it was like, oh my God, did I have sex with any of you?
That was I said that for those playing at home. Some other good quotes were, didn't think I was worth it, so got up and left, which everybody thought was my biological father. I thought that was very interesting, that the majority of the people in my family that read that decided I wasn't worth it and left was actually from the first episode. And it was about the gentleman who wanted to get in a fight with me, but when I stood up and he saw my 6'3", 550-poundness, he said, "You are not worth fighting," and left. But so many people thought that it was my biological father because, you know, I'm adopted.
That's what I thought.
It is kind of sad, but it's also interesting that that's where people's minds went, that they just immediately went to something to do with, you know, personal loss, trauma, grief. Get off your phone!
I'm off my phone. I was reading a text from my mom to see what I could say she said. Jeez.
Really? You're reading texts from your mother.
Look, no, I'm reading what she said. Too hard to get up in the morning. You should take it earlier. Maybe you wouldn't have that problem.
That was funny. There was an episode that we recorded. It was after midnight. We didn't lose track, but it was almost 6 a.m. by the time we started recording, because we go on recording binges. You know, that we don't necessarily, we record multiple episodes, but it was 6 a.m., which still counts as after midnight because we had been recording all night. And Michelle turns into a pumpkin at some point. Like all of that manic energy that she has on the show just at some point just hits a wall and stops. And she just blankly stares at you. And that was very evident in the show. We're not going to tell you which one it was, but it's the one where Michelle didn't talk.
Well, I mean, I don't even remember it.
That's the other problem that we have. Michelle does not remember shows. What I really liked about the launch of our show, you know, I was very nervous about my family too. Now, I've been at the public speaking game a lot longer than Michelle has been. So my parents have heard a lot of things. My grandparents have heard a lot of things. They've heard a lot of the stories and they've read a lot of the blogs that I wrote. But, you know, this is different. This is more raw. It's just, it was scarier to me. So my grandmother listens to the first episode, and in the first episode, I talk about waking up, seeing a whole bunch of women, and many of them, you know, sex workers and strippers, and wondering if I had sex with any of them. And I thought to myself, oh man, like, what is my family going to think when they hear this? And my grandmother hears this, she listens to the very first episode. After she's done listening to the episode, she goes and gets her neighbor, and the two of them listen to the episode, and my grandmother describes this as just the funniest thing that she ever heard. So just picture this for a moment. You've got an 80-year-old and a 70-year-old huddled around their computer, because they're not listening to this on like a media player of any sort. They're literally hovering around their computer and listening to this show and laughing hysterically at what my grandmother refers to as the debauchery you were up to. This is too much. It's too much.
The debauchery you are up to. Grandmothers and the debauchery. Grandmother debauchery.
My grandmother said, or my mother, she also describes the show as absolutely hilarious. My sister listens to it, but before every episode, she sends me a text and she's like, "What are the timestamps that I should mute?" Because she just doesn't want to hear certain things, but they always just catch her off guard. But she's been a good sport about it. My whole family has been really cool about it. How has your family been, Michelle? Because you weighed in on what your dead grandmother would think about it.
Oh, no, I'm just like, okay, listen. I got to tell you about my grandmother. She was a hilarious woman. Blanche, I love you. She her 80th birthday. I go, Blanche. Did you ever expect to be an 80-year-old grandmother?
Wait, you call your grandmother Blanche?
Yes, we go by first names in our family. Her name is Blanche. Well, just Blanche. And she goes, "I never thought I would live this long." And I go, "Why?" She goes, "When I was younger, I was wild." And I was like, "What were you doing?" She's like, "I would go out on school nights."
Oh my God.
I know. So
No,
like,
no, it gets worse. It gets worse.
I go, so what were you doing on these school nights? And she's like, the army men would come in. They would take me to dinner and a show. That's it. No hanky panky. Nobody ever took advantage of Blanche.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking, if my grandmother knew half the things that I say and the things that I do, I don't think she would approve.
You don't think so?
Not so much, because she's thinking Wild is going to dinner and a show on a school night. On a school night, of all things. A school night.
Well, how old was she? Because, if it's one thing if she was like 17 and this is going on, but it's another thing if she was like 11. Because then
that was high school.
You think she wait. You're asking if she was going out with army men to dinner and a show when she was 11?
That's my point. Blanche is saying that she was wild. That would be wild.
Dinner and a show. Dinner and a show. No hanky panky. That's what she said. No hanky.
She called it hanky panky.
Hanky panky.
Now, did you know what that was, or did you have to look it up?
No, I was away. I was in college at the time. She was telling me this.
Your grandmother has passed away.
She is in heaven. Yes.
She is in heaven.
Definitely.
That's a bold statement, and one that I don't know that I can make about my grandma.
No, she's a lovely lady.
Your grandma's not dead.
Oh, okay. So she's not in heaven. That makes perfect sense. Now, as you know, listen. My granny is my favorite person in the entire world. And yes, I am saying that because I know that she listens. We've already established that. But
I love your granny.
I say hi to Granny. Did you just say
Granny.
hi?
Hi, Granny.
Don't say hi.
Marilyn, he says it all the time, not just on the show.
Aw. See, this was now a sweet moment, and now I can't make my joke. Vin just killed my joke. You ruined our report. Tell another story about Blanche. Wait, did your grandma now is Blanche your grandmother's mother? Or I'm sorry, your mother's mother?
No, my dad's mother.
So this is your dad's mother. Did she get along with your mother?
Oh yes. My cousin once asked her, "Who's your favorite child-in-law?" And she said, "My mom was number one." She had 3 children-in-laws, and she said, "My mom was number one, and my 2 uncles, they were tied."
They were tied?
They were tied. My mom, number one, the other 2 tied.
What is your dad?
My uncle was very mad. My uncle was very mad.
Really? Did this cause a rift in the family?
No, not at all. He was just like, what?
See, in my family, when people start yelling, feelings get hurt quick. There is no such thing as raising your voice, screaming at each other, and we're all over it. Like, these things drag on for years. My mother in Christmas of 1991 yelled at me for something, and I am still upset about it. Oh, sorry, Michelle. Christmas is the thing that the whole world celebrates.
Oh, really? Oh, really? They all celebrate a man robbing your house, but not robbing, but dropping off gifts, but coming down your chimney. But if you don't have a chimney, they still show up anyway, and you fool the kids. You just fool and lie to the kids, and now you scare the kids with an elf on the shelf. It's really just scaring kids.
Well, the elf on the shelf is creepy.
It is.
Elf on the shelf is scare tactics, and these kids are going to grow up with anxiety because of an elf on a shelf.
Or it's just preparing them for the real world and the NSA.
Elf on a shelf is anxiety.
I do not have the guts to make the Christmas joke unless I have Vin as backup. The only reason I did this is because if you got mad, I was positive that I could throw Vin in front of you to slow you down and make my escape because he's on his 6th donuts. The diabetes alone would slow you down.
I know, Vin. How many donuts do you need?
Does anyone need donuts?
I don't know what this had to do with Christmas.
Oh, then I get to celebrate Christmas and you don't.
I could if I want to.
You could if she wanted to.
Is that allowed?
It's America.
I can do whatever I want.
And she's a woman.
I'm a woman.
Are you going to roar?
Hashtag Me Too Christmas. Christmas too.
All right.
We celebrate Christmas too.
The wheels are way off the bus. We are now usurping important...
Have a donut.
I had a donut.
Would you like a donut whole?
What's your favorite donut, Michelle?
What does that have to do with mental illness?
Honestly.
Wait. You're asking the question wrong. Using the lens of schizophrenia, what is your favorite donut and why?
As a schizophrenic woman.
Yes.
What donut do you find is most appealing?
Yes.
Well, you're going to find this bat shit crazy.
Excellent.
I don't really like donuts.
Then why did we come here?
Wait,
like muffins.
Oh. That's true.
I like a blueberry muffin.
That is
we should have known that she's eating a muffin. She's literally this. She just threw the crumbs at me, which that
doesn't mean she doesn't like donuts. It just
she's
in the mood for a muffin.
Want to learn more about mental health, mental illness, and psychology, but not be bored? The Psych Central Show is an award-winning podcast that speaks candidly with experts in these fields to break down complex topics into easily understood nuggets of useful information. Hosted by our very own Gabe Howard along with Vincent M. Wales. Available on your favorite podcast player or at psychcentral.com/show.
Vin, sincerely, thank you for being here. We don't have guests very often. In fact, you're the first one, and it's really designed that way for a reason because we want to keep it kind of a tight show. Believe it or not, that's our goal.
Believe it or not.
But
swallow the muffin before you talk, Michelle.
Oh my god, I know, it's so good.
But you are.
I love this place. We got the best place. I'm so glad we didn't go to a pizza place.
Yeah, but stop. Chicago pizza is to die for. But Vin, sincerely, you are a mental health advocate. You're the co-host of the Psych Central Show podcast, very popular show. I say that because I'm on it too. But you're a mental health advocate, and you listen to these shows. What do you think? Like, are we doing it justice getting information out about living with mental illness? I mean, I know that we're funny. We get a lot of feedback that says, hey, you're hilarious. And of course, sometimes we get nasty grams that say that we're, demeaning the experience of living with mental illness. That's probably a topic for another show. But as somebody who also lives with mental illness, what do you think about what we're doing here? And it's a loaded question. You're our friend. So he's not a plant. It's his honest truth, but go for it.
Personally, I think the reason that you're doing this show with Michelle and not with me is because you wanted to be the funny one. It wouldn't work with me on the show.
You know, he's funnier than me.
Well,
I think everybody's funny.
I don't know you that well yet, Michelle, so I don't know. Gabe is funny, but as I keep telling everyone, looks are not that important.
I applaud that one.
Back to the question.
I was getting there. I think what you're doing is interesting. I do. I know that a lot of people would not look at this show or listen to this show and say, yes, this is mental health advocacy. But as we've discussed before, advocacy comes in all kinds of flavors. And one of those things is, in my opinion, just showing that someone with a severe mental illness can still have a normal existence. And that's what you guys are doing.
I mean, if you call what we're doing normal.
Well, I know that was...
I mean, I kind of have a normal existence.
Questionable word to use, I agree. But
so just to make sure that we understand, you think it's normal for a couple of people to run around different states in the middle of the night with their computers, record podcasts, upload them.
Let me rephrase.
No, I understand. We're
I don't think I've ever been called normal in my life ever.
Well, neither have I, but what I mean is that you are showing that you can exist in a way that is not the stereotypical way that a lot of people envision someone with bipolar or schizophrenia acting.
I like that answer. That's a very good answer, Vin.
Vin, you have the hard job of editing our shows. Can you talk about that process for a moment? Because all jokes aside, you are getting just basically the musings of a couple of mentally ill people in a giant audio file that we upload to you, and you turn that into a show.
Sometimes. You do recall that there was one time I replied to you and I said, Gabe, this show is crap. Redo it.
Those were your actually. You said the show is shit. Remember, we can swear on this show.
Oh yeah, okay. So the show was shit.
The show was shit, and
The show was
yeah,
shit.
Now, when you guys redid it, it was very good. So
Yay!
So the process is a little messy. It involves a good bit of patience, a fair bit of alcohol.
Just a fair bit. Moonshine?
No, I go for the fancier, more expensive stuff, honestly.
Vin is very classy. He likes high-end stuff.
The fancier, more expensive. More expensive does not mean better.
Look, listen.
I was a web designer at a wine store.
In alcohol, it does.
Look at the donut that he ordered. I ordered a round glazed donut. He had to get the Bavarian cream donut on, actually, ironically, on the top shelf. He even gets top shelf donuts.
Top shelf donuts.
Ben is just so bougie.
Keep in mind, though, that all the donuts that we have here are the stale leftover ones. Because
Well, at night they have to throw them all away anyway, so they
exactly. That's why we didn't pay anything for them.
They were going in the dumpster, so they were like, "Hey, you want them?" And we were like, "Okay."
We're not eating this restaurant's dumpster donuts. Don't be mean.
Don't act like it's not okay to do that. Are you judging me?
No, but I just want the world to know that you're eating the stale donuts because you're cheap, not because you're schizophrenic.
Listen. Oh, am I stigmatizing myself? Not astigmatism, a stigmatizing.
Okay.
I mix that up a lot.
Yeah, it's sometimes what you hand me is a rambling mess of verbiage. And I have to somehow turn that into something that makes sense.
Well,
and
that's lovely.
Yeah, and the only way I can do that is, with perseverance and lots of swearing. And
that's why the show is rated PG-13?
It sounds like you go to the gym every time you edit the podcast. It's like all this perseverance and I really have to get into it and try really hard.
Is editing our show like an exercise program for you?
No, it's more of a headache.
Tell us about your favorite outtakes, things that didn't make it into the show and why.
Oh God.
Now see, if you ask me that about our show, I could give you a few examples. But your show hasn't been on that long, and the outtakes have not been as funny yet. I'm sure they'll get there.
There's some classic moments, though. There really are.
There are two that spring to mind. The first one was when Michelle started singing that Lily Allen song that I really can't say the name of right now.
I don't remember why she started singing that.
Yeah, and you were trying to get her to stop, and that didn't go so well. So, yeah.
I believe it devolved into Michelle throwing stuff at me, if I recall. It would have been hilarious for video.
It would have, yeah. And the other one was you were parked inside one of your places there and near a window, and some drunk dude started urinating in full view.
Oh, the hipster.
Hipster or whatever he was. I couldn't see him, but yeah, and the comments that Michelle made.
It was so nasty. Why was he just?
They were quite
there?
Entertaining.
You could see his willy.
That's what you said. That was you said repeatedly.
I wanted to let him know we could see him.
He couldn't hear you.
He was gone. Michelle started swearing, and I don't mean like swearing like our show allows. I mean, she called the guy a mother effer, and she asked him about you said something that was hilarious about would his mother approve of this? You just started screaming, and it was hilarious. But I think it's the foul language that got it cut more than anything.
Dude, I mean, realize where you're peeing.
Really? Is that the takeaway? Realize where?
Because I wouldn't do that. Maybe something like that might have happened to me one time, but I'm not going to talk about that.
Why not?
Because now I realize that I ruined it for Two Truths and a Lie.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh, too bad.
But it's interesting, and I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because one of the things that Michelle and I did point out after we got back in the groove again is this gentleman was well dressed. He was a well dressed guy. It was very late. He was clearly coming home from a bar. This is not a homeless man. This is not a mentally ill man. And he just, for whatever reason, probably because it's almost impossible to find a bathroom in New York City, he decided to urinate in front of full view of I'm sure he thought that the place was closed because the lights are off. But for some reason, if you ask who urinates in public, people are going to say crazy people, mentally ill people, homeless people. It's
drunk people.
Yeah, but it's actually, drunk people who have good jobs and are just not practicing good social skills. But society believes that it's only crazy people.
That's who usually pees in public.
Can I point out
with good jobs?
Can I point out the very stigmatizing statement that you made, Gabe?
Seriously, Gabe. I can't believe you just said that.
You don't even know what it is. Hang on a second. Vin, don't say a word. Michelle, if you figure out what Vin is going to say.
You were saying something about you said he was a white hipster, and you were saying he had a good job, and you were saying that he was peeing in public, and people are saying that it's homeless people, but it's really the people with the good jobs. And, and they should know better, blah, blah, blah. Right, Ben?
No.
Calling people out for doing the things that they're doing is not creating stigma.
You did say something stigmatizing.
Okay. What did I say? What you
said was, in describing the gentleman who was urinating, you said he wasn't a homeless guy. He wasn't mentally ill. Because he was well dressed, you said. You're saying that mentally ill people can't dress well?
Hey, I dress great. No, I don't. Yes, I
do. Vin, you are right. This is man.
Astigmatism.
Did you say astigmatism? That's an eye disease, lady. But no, you're absolutely right. This is an excellent example of where I was playing on the stereotypes of society and describing mentally ill people. And even though I am a mentally ill person and I live with it myself, and I say constantly, hey, I own a house, I drive a nice car, I have nice things. This is what mental illness looks like. Whenever I describe it, I always describe it in the stereotype because it's a shorthand to help people understand. And it's not right. And if it's that easy for me to do, you can imagine what the rest of society is doing. No, that you win. I apologize. I am also glad that Michelle lost. That makes me happy. But I stand corrected. That very stop saying astigmatism. I love that it was a teachable moment.
I'm glad you learned, Gabe. Now you can stop offending people all the time. So, Vin, I know that you've known this old ginger man for like 55 plus years.
I'm not that old.
Neither am I.
Did you first notice he was a nutcase? I gotta know. What were the signs? You're
creating astigmatism.
I know, astigmatism, which can easily be fixed with glasses.
I honestly don't know, Vin. Did you notice? I just...
no, honestly, I did not. When we were hanging out a lot many, many moons ago, you were this guy, you had this big personality and you were loud and you talked a lot and stuff, but that never equated mentally ill to me. Because there's a lot of people to do that. They're fine. And then we went through that long period of not being in touch, and it was during that point when you were diagnosed. So no, I was not really around much when you were getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where you actually got a diagnosis. So no, I never really saw it.
How happy are you to have Gabe in your life? On a scale of 1 to 10.
That's a hard question for me to answer.
It better not be.
Given that I have persistent depressive disorder, happy is not a term that I really relate to very much.
I see. But does Gabe bring you joy?
Was that the name of the chick you brought with you the last time?
First off, they prefer sex worker. And yes, that was her name.
But clearly it wasn't Joy Behar. Because you don't know who that is.
Gabe doesn't know who Joy Behar is.
All right, then.
Astigmatism.
Okay, so the question was, again... Does Gabe bring me joy? Joy, again, concept I'm not really familiar with. But Gabe has been a very, very good friend of mine. He's always there for me, just like I am for him. We make a good team, and we make good friends.
One of the things that's most difficult for me living with bipolar disorder is excitement is, I mean, it's a symptom. I mean, I know mania is the symptom, but getting excited and having, I have a giant range of emotion. My emotions are so giant, it's a disorder, and I need to take medication to wheel them in. And then his disorder is such that he just has this low-level depression all the time, which sounds very, very difficult, but it also means that he doesn't really have excitement, or he's never overjoyed. He's never, I mean, obviously he's never manic but it's so difficult for me to grasp. Because I'll say things like, hey, buddy, I'm coming next month. Are you excited? And Vin's like, I put it on my calendar. And at first I was like, this is so... It hurt my feelings. I was like, why are you not excited? I'm literally flying cross country to sleep on your damn floor, and you can't muster some happiness for it? But listen, he can't. He can't. Having a better understanding of that is what allows Vin and I to be friends. But I can certainly understand how other people in Vin's life are just like, well, he's not excited when I come around. Maybe we're not great friends. I don't know for a fact that that's happened in anybody that he knows, but mental illness is mean because it makes people misunderstand our motivations.
Yeah, I have a friend at work who always says, are you excited? And it could be about any number of different things. And I always just look at her and say, seriously, you're asking me that? No, I'm not excited. I am looking forward to going on vacation. I am not excited to go on vacation.
That's just a travesty.
Then why does she continuously ask you that?
Listen,
she's hoping that one day I'm going to say yes.
Well, I don't want to turn this into an after-school special, but the reason that she hopes this is because she doesn't understand mental illness. If you watch today, but it's not stigma. It's ignorance. It's wishful thinking. But it's really rooted in this misunderstanding of how mental illness works. Not to be mean to her, because she's a great friend and she's a good person and she doesn't mean to. But the reality is if Vin was in a wheelchair, she wouldn't ask him every day if he got up and walked. She would understand that that's permanent. But she really believes that any day now, Vin is going to experience excitement. Because after all, it works that way. And this is the problem with our society not teaching mental health. People don't understand that it's not an option. This is how Vin's illness manifests. This is how Gabe's illness manifests. This is how your illness manifests. We don't respond to things stereotypically, and that's probably not going to change. And asking us every day is not because you're optimistic. It's because you don't understand.
Very well said. Sad, but very well said.
And that's what we need to get to. Listen, if this show does nothing else, we need to be able to laugh at ourselves. We need to be able to explain to the people in our lives the things that annoy us without alienating them, without attacking them. We need to have these conversations. It's what Michelle's clothing line does. It's what the show does. It's what all three of us as mental health advocates do. And it's what brought us to Chicago, to learn how to be better advocates. Mm-hmm. And it's what has kept us up this late. Vin, thank you for being on the show. I think if you are honest with yourself, you bit off way more than you can chew by being here. But we appreciate you hanging with us. Michelle and I, we exaggerate for the purpose of comedic effect. The last question is, tell the audience what it's really like to do this. What is it like to be here?
The conference or doing this show?
No, to watch the recording of the podcast. I mean, could we sell tickets to this, or is that just...
Oh, that would be a very bad idea. I think. So our show is done by video connection across the country, which is convenient. And it's also very cool because if I don't want to look at you, I don't have to. Whereas here, there you are, right in front of... Hey.
It wasn't me.
It was you.
It was Michelle.
butthead.
She didn't know it because she has astigmatism.
Astigmatism.
She thought she was hitting me.
Don't stigmatize astigmatism.
Maybe I'm stigmatizing a stigmatize. We have to get out of here.
We're going back to my room.
Yes. We have, I think, about a half-mile walk back. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And remember to subscribe, like, rate, review, and share. And we will see everybody next week.
Astigmatism.
You've been listening to a bipolar, a schizophrenic, and a podcast. If you love this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Head over to iTunes or your preferred podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. To work with Gabe, go to GabeHoward.com. To work with Michelle, go to schizophrenic.nyc. For free mental health resources and online support groups, head over to PsychCentral.com. The show's official website is PsychCentral.com/BSP. You can email us at show@PsychCentral.com. Thank you for listening, and share widely.